Although Australia and New Zealand are thousands of miles apart, they have a lot of things in common. They are both modern countries in the Southern Hemisphere. Europeans settled in both countries at the same time, and they both have an indigenous population that existed long before these settlers arrived. Australia was discovered in 1770, when Captain James Cook sailed along the east coast near modern-day Sydney. Over the next century, other colonies were established on the island, and eventually, in 1901, they united to create Australia as a dominion of the British Empire. Throughout the 20th century, people from all over the world arrived here, often settling in the country's major cities, such as Sydney, Melbourne, or Adelaide. Not long from now, the country will be celebrating its 250th anniversary, and experts predict the population will have grown to over 30 million people. The first European to arrive in New Zealand was the explorer Abel Tasman, who sailed along the western coast of the country in 1642. He called it New Zealand, after the Dutch region. But it wasn't until the early 19th century that Europeans, mainly from Britain, settled, and in 1840, it became a British colony. Today, New Zealand and Australia are both modern, multicultural societies with strong economies. In fact, they both share one major industry: tourism. In 2015, over 7 million people travelled to Australia for a holiday in the sun. In the same year, New Zealand received over 3 million visitors. Not bad for a country with a population of just over 4.5 million. These visitors come for many reasons. Some come for a beach holiday, where they can pamper themselves in a luxury hotel and relax, enjoying the lovely views and trying the local dishes. Some want to go on an adventure holiday, where they can get off the beaten track, go backpacking, and stay in campsites or youth hostels. But some want to broaden their horizons and find out about the country's history, and a major part of this in both countries is the culture of the native people. The Aboriginal Australians have lived here for around 60,000 years. Their language and culture is like nowhere else on Earth. And remote regions of Australia, often called the Outback, are home to some of the oldest artworks in the world. The Maoris of New Zealand, however, are much more recent arrivals. They sailed to New Zealand from other Pacific islands around 800 years ago. Over the centuries, a unique Maori culture developed, but it was still similar to the native culture of other Pacific islands, like Tonga, Fiji, and even Hawaii. Soon, Europeans will have been living in New Zealand and Australia for 300 years. During this time, both the Aboriginal Australians and Maori New Zealanders have struggled to keep their culture alive. Over the centuries, a lot of their way of life has disappeared as the new arrivals built roads and cities and created a new world. But today, a lot of people are fighting to keep the old customs and traditions. This isn't easy, and in both countries, people will be working on this for a long time to come. But today, most people realize that it's important not to let these ancient cultures die out.